Welcome to the College Baseball Central Network, bringing you 90 feet closer to the greatest show on dirt.
Welcome to CBC Radio, presented by Home Field Apparel. Go to our friends at Home Field for every one of your apparel needs this college baseball season. I'd say college baseball season in the opening seconds of CBC Radio. It's been a few weeks since I've been in your phone, radio, if you manage to pull that off, TV, computer, whatever it looks like, however you're watching. Thank you for being here. If you've listened to CBC Radio this season, you know that this is kind of a off the cuff kind of a deal. It's designed to be a radio show of sorts. I try not to say episode every week, but I do say episode. It comes out. But it's been a few weeks since we had CBC Radio. 2 weeks ago, I was at a game. Last week, life just kind of happened, and one of those deals where can't do it. Wednesday gets busy. Hopefully that's not the case for you guys, because 17 of you have tuned in immediately for CBC Radio. I thank every single one of you that take time at 5:30 or 6:30 Eastern, or maybe it's 3:30 Mountain Time, to tune in to CBC Radio to listen to me ramble on a weekly basis. Canes Cats Heat, first one in the comment section, says, "Good evening from the freight train." I don't know what the freight train is. I don't know what that means, but I do know that Miami is heating up. If that's what the freight train is, good for the freight train. It's all about the U. I would like to address my shirt. Nothing special about it, but I notice it's a little reflective. That's just kind of how we're rolling right now here on April 8th of 2026. Miami is the freight train. Thank you for clearing that up, Canes Cats. When I think Miami, I think of a few things. Alex Rodriguez. I think, man, I wish that baseball field was a little nicer. And then I think of Danny Boy Kane. Those are the big three for me. I did not go through a bear attack, do not have the swine flu, not paying any child support, none of those things. Danny Boy Kane is, of course, a hero of mine, even though I've never met the guy, interacted with him on Twitter, but that's enough about DBC. Do you want to get Danny Boy Kane on your show? I would love to have Danny Boy Kane on, no matter the context. I love DBC. He follows me. I follow him on multiple accounts. I can DM him. Go ahead, Canes Cats Heat. You set that up. You throw me in a three-way chat. We're going to get Danny Boy Kane on this program. It'll be awesome. I don't know how much baseball we'll talk, but I also don't care. Danny Boy Kane and I can discuss anything. However, we aren't here to discuss Miami baseball, because that's not what we do on CBC Radio. And you're thinking, well, man, I'm a Miami fan. That sucks. But I say that because CBC Radio is designed for the casual fan to tune in and learn about what happened 4 days ago, or what happened in their midweek yesterday, or whatever you have you. This isn't by the way, North Carolina is leading the ACC. You already know these things. You don't tune in to me at 5:30 on a random Wednesday, or 6:30, whatever it may be, because you're wanting to learn more about college baseball. You're already a sicko. You're already messed up enough in the head to know that UCLA has won, 23, 24 in a row now at this point. You know that their next 11 games are against the likes of Minnesota with their Jackie Robinson jerseys that were revealed today, and some other Big Ten teams. They go to Rutgers, and they have Sacramento State along with some midweeks in there. You know that that's their slate ahead to break the longest streak in NCAA history. You already know these things. I'm not here to lecture you on how much smarter I am than you, because you're smarter than I am. I really don't know too much. I'm shocked you guys are listening to me right now. No kidding. He wants me on his show. No kidding. DBC, I would take a bullet for you, buddy, not the other way around. I love Danny Boy Kane. Fantastic follow on Twitter if you don't follow him already. Whether you like Miami, whether you hate Miami, Danny Boy Kane, a must follow. Did not think that I would be discussing Danny Boy Kane 4.5 minutes into CBC Radio tonight. But now that I've defined CBC Radio for anybody who's tuning in for the first time, I'm going to make my weekly plea. If you're not new to the program, I know Canes Cat Heat isn't new. If you're new, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It means a lot. Like the video. If you're watching on Twitter right now, head over to our YouTube. Simply subscribe, like, head on back to Twitter. I don't care if you stay on the YouTube channel. We're not trying to get you to be on an app you don't want to be on. Just show your support, like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're like Canes Cats Heat here, you want to get on the action in the comment section. We love that as well. I will try and highlight every single comment that comes through, as long as they aren't out of hand or by Andrew Rydell. Andrew, you no free subs on the show, okay, buddy? But I wanted to touch on a few things. We got Matt Grissom waiting in the wings. If you've tuned into CBC Radio at this point, you know that Matt Grissom is going to play a role He's going to be here to talk about his segment Moneyball, where he identifies maybe underrated talents throughout the year. But I know that he was talking about some guys who I don't think are underrated at all, but it's good to hear some shine. But overall, college baseball has been electric lately, and it's a great timing. I always say, and I shouldn't say I always say, but if you've heard me talk before, there's a good chance you've heard me talk about college baseball's golden hour. That to me is when it's a Friday night, big time series all over the country, deep in conference play, usually right around this time of year, early April. Maybe it's a little bit later in April. Maybe it's not this weekend. Maybe it is. I don't know. We'll have to see. You just know it when you see it. But you turn in ESPN on a Friday night, ESPN2, ESPN Plus even, and you watch maybe Tennessee. You watch some of those high-stakes crowd where they sell out a lot, LSU even, and the sun just looks right. The sky just looks right. Arkansas does this as well. And you just know by looking at it, we've reached not summer, but just the perfect amount of temperature for college baseball. It's not 100 degrees yet, but it's not 50 degrees either. It's a nice somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's 70 degrees. Either way, you know it when you see it. It's perfect baseball. And again, it's you know it when you see it. And I'm putting us on warning here. We could be reaching the golden hour this weekend. It only lasts one weekend because after that the weather changes. But it's one of those things where it's special. And again, you know it when you see it. Just keep your eyes peeled for that because college basketball is done, folks. I don't know if you guys heard. I recently learned there was a national championship played in that sport the other night. I don't know. I was too busy watching replays of Sunday baseball or Monday baseball. Don't even know what day it was. But apparently the Michigan Wolverines won a college basketball national championship. Again, I wouldn't know anything about that. But I will say college baseball is the main show in town at this point. Does that mean ESPN is going to show us that love? Maybe not. Does that mean Fox will? No. Does that mean that CBS is going to do that? Not necessarily. However, all of a sudden, SportsCenter has no choice but to show top plays involving college baseball. All of a sudden, everybody's going to come out of the woodwork and talk about how great college baseball is. You got the college basketball portal. You got Alabama looking good in their spring game. Who really cares about any of that stuff? College baseball on your TV Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Get used to it. Golden hour is here, at least on TV. I hope it comes to us in the form of weather. But again, you guys don't need to know this. You're a college baseball sicko. You're 7.5 minutes into watching me ramble about who really knows what I just said. Who really knows? You don't need me to tell you that. But college baseball for me was as exciting as it's been the last week. I've attended 2 Kansas Jayhawk games in the last week. One, a thrilling win against Utah. And then also last night, their midweek at Nebraska, which was an exciting matchup because it was 2 teams that were on fire heading into the game. Kansas had won, I believe, 6 in a row. Nebraska had won 10 in a row. Nebraska was 15-0 at home. And they had won 22 of their last 23 games. And I say all those in the past tense because Kansas promptly snapped that streak. They're no longer undefeated at home. They've no longer won 10 or – in case it would have been 11 in a row. They've, in fact, lost 1 in a row, the Nebraska Cornhuskers have. Kansas has fully adapted to what they were last season. If you watched any of the Jayhawks or read about them or saw them in any capacity, it was a situation of these guys are down late, and they're going to find a way to win the game. And that's exactly what this team is doing. That's what they did against Utah when I saw them late last week. And that's what they did against Nebraska last night. And they ruffled some feathers. Which, again, I just said I don't want to recap games for you guys because you guys already know that happened. So I'm not going to do that. We all know Kansas won the game. But the importance of the event, it was people were on the edge of their seats. It was a little bit chilly, but still a really good crowd. But Nebraska was very upset with how Kansas was celebrating, locked in on every pitch. You would have thought, and I don't mean this as disrespectful for either team, you would have thought that this was the College World Series with the way that Kansas was locked in. And for all intents and purposes, if you don't live life on the edge like that, then why are you living? But it was one of those games where they were locked in every single pitch, and every single pitch gets a celebration. Every single pitch gets a taunt from the dugout. They're meeting their guys pretty much at first base after getting every third out in the defensive half of the inning. When they're scoring runs, they're throwing water in the air. It was everything that you want a dugout to look like for a high-stakes game. And when I tell you Kansas, Nebraska meeting on April 7th, you don't necessarily think high-stakes game, but the tension in this game was definitely palpable. And Will Bolt was not happy with how Kansas was reacting to positive energy towards themselves. And this dugout has fully taken on a spirit that can only be matched by the 2025 Kansas Jayhawks, but I've also seen similarities. And I know what it's like to throw out similarities between programs who win national championships and programs who have not. But the Tennessee Volunteers and the Kansas Jayhawks have given me a lot of parallels the last few years. Just in the way that program was built by Tony Vitello and the way that Dan Fitzgerald is building his program. It's different levels of talent. They're playing different levels of competition. I'm not saying that they're identical by any stretch. But when I watch the resiliency of the Kansas Jayhawks, it reminds me of Vitello's group and how they won games early on. You think to a few years ago they got in that world scrap with Dave Van Horn. I'm thinking that team. And even that's ahead of where Kansas is right now. But when I think of how that team has taken on the personality of people around it, that's exactly what Kansas and Tennessee have in common. You look at Tennessee, who became a product of Tony Vitello. You say, what's your team's system? What's your team's culture? The answer was Tony Vitello. In the case of Kansas, internally, there's still a lot of that Dan Fitzgerald culture in that locker room. Maybe not 100% on the field, and I don't mean that in a way that the coach isn't impacting the team, because he absolutely is. He's one of the best coaches in the country. But when that team is playing and maybe just watching their teammates, they don't take on Dan Fitzgerald's calm persona and very respectful persona. Dan Fitzgerald's not the kind of guy to overwhelmingly argue balls and strikes or anything to that nature. He's not Tony Vitello in that sense, or in any sense, I would say. But the way that the Kansas Jayhawks react in the dugout, in the bullpen, even when they get on first or second base, very similar to Tennessee in the sense that they don't really care who's on the field with them. They're celebrating themselves. They are taunting in a sense when you look at it, and you've got guys who are staring each other down. You got Will Bolt getting tossed from the game, and all the players are tipping their hats like, see ya. That's very clearly taunting. But they're celebrating themselves just as much. And it's really, really good for college baseball when these things happen. I was one of the first people to say that it was great when it was happening in the Tennessee dugout. These guys are the villains. Everybody needs a villain. I never thought that the way that Dan Fitzgerald builds a program would lead to any team that he's involved with being a villain. But all of a sudden, in the last 24 hours, at least with one fan base, that being Nebraska, I have seen Kansas become the ultimate villain in college baseball right now. And these two teams play again in another midweek later on in Lawrence. So it'll be a different environment. Who knows how Nebraska will handle that? Maybe they'll be a little bit more animated. But both teams were chirping back and forth. It wasn't like Nebraska was at a funeral, although I do know that one Kansas burner who made the trip compared Haymarket Park to a library in comparison to Hoagland Ballpark. But either way, very impressed with the way that this Jayhawk club has built a real personality year to year, because it's very impressive because they have 27 newcomers on this team. This wasn't, all right, we're going to play, we're going to win some games, and then everybody's going to come back next year. This is virtually a new team outside of a few faces, and they've seamlessly carried on the personality of the group. It's kind of like Indiana football, where you have all these guys who did a lot of winning. They had not an overwhelmingly personality. I don't remember Indiana football having much of a personality, but they really looked virtually like the same team one year to the next year, and all they're doing is building it with guys who have played a ton of that sport. With Indiana, it was football, and with Kansas, it's baseball. You've got guys who are coming out of the JUCO ranks, coming in as grad transfers from whatever level of baseball it was, guys who just want to play more innings of baseball while they still can. You think Jackson Hauge was like a 6-year guy for them last year. You got guys like Dario Osoria who are in that same boat. And then some of the veteran guys that you've heard of are still only juniors, but guys that are able to carve out their own paths to professional baseball next season and whatever that looks like. But either way, overarchingly, I like the comparison of Kansas to Tennessee. I can't say it in front of everybody, because when I say, oh, yeah, Kansas baseball, Tennessee baseball, similar, people will freak out and say, oh, man, the Vols would sweep them, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. The talent's not the same. Even the facilities are not similar. The way that Tony Vitello and now Josh Elander have built that program is extremely different than the way that Kansas is being built right now. And who knows how sustainable it is. This is the reality of college sports. Dan Fitzgerald could easily be coaching somewhere else next year. But right now, I like the way that Kansas has built a program to have an identity as sort of a villain. I don't think they're actually a villain of the Big 12 just yet, but I'll be very interested to see how that series against UCF goes. because they can absolutely lean into that role if they want. Now, before I ramble on too far, like I said, Matt Grissom's been waiting in the wings. Matt, we're not going to go full on Moneyball yet, but why don't you add yourself to the screen? I think, Griss, I don't know if you – this is a treat. Griss, you missed the first few minutes, and Canes Cats Heat was saying something about Danny Boy Kane. Well, I actually said Danny Boy Kane because I said when you say Miami, I think of a few things. Alex Rodriguez, I wish the baseball park was a little bit nicer, and Danny Boy Kane. Those are the three things I think of when you say Miami. And all of a sudden we're talking about Danny Boy Kane, and here he is coming out of the woodwork. Good evening, DBC. I'm a huge fan of your work. It was awesome to see you at the college football playoff. Wish Miami had gotten it done. Was just talking about Indiana football. Hopefully that doesn't ruffle any feathers. But DBC, huge fan of your work, lifelong fan. Yeah, thank you, Canes Cats Heat. Griss, any exposure to DBC before we pivot?
No, other than I have something that you may like, Danny Boy Kane. So I don't know what this is going to do with like I thought, just absolutely terrible. Okay, so I not really created a stat, but figured out another way to conceptualize it. So we have weighted runs created plus, which the plus just means everything's put where 100 is average. I did that for Sierra. So a weighted pitching stat, just like weighted runs created. So as you can tell by this chart, which is up to date to today, you have the elite in the top right, and then there's a dotted line across that quadrant that separates the elite, the championship contenders, and the teams that could actually win a championship. And you'll notice the Miami Hurricanes logo there. Much to my surprise, they're sitting right there with UCLA, who many people have. I think everybody has now as their number one team after Texas disappointingly lost a game to South Carolina.
We should add that anybody who had Texas number one should get a lobotomy.
I had Texas number one based on like this right here. Statistically, right now, Mississippi State is the best pitching team in the country. Well, I guess Oregon State, Auburn would be slightly ahead of them as far as doing it well on both sides of the ball. Mississippi State, Georgia, Georgia Tech. No real surprise there to me, as they've looked very impressive thus far. But Miami being right there, Arizona State, another team we'll talk about during the Moneyball segment, but it's very interesting. And this was already loaded up. I was going to share this regardless if we had Miami fans in the chat. So it just kind of played out. Miami number one when it's all said and done. We'll see.
I don't know about that, but I would like to address it again, Griss. I said it earlier. I feel like I look like a green screen right now. This shirt is just really reflective. Lesson learned. No stripes. No stripes on CBC Radio.
Well, thanks for your patience while I fix that out. Jake,
like the words I say. Like you're just ignoring me. I mentioned the stripes and you talk about something else.
Well, because somebody had mentioned earlier, I don't know who it was, that your shirt is very Masters looking.
Yeah, it was Jake. So we ignore that.
But Masters are green and yellow, not red.
Yeah. He put it in quotes, so I know exactly what he meant. It's a pretentious shirt. It's literally just stripes. Probably confuses Jake. Red and white stripes, I believe. Although in the right lighting, I should add that these look red and blue. Kind of a weird deal, but
is that like the white and gold dress or the blue and black dress?
For a minute, I had that because a coworker said, "I can't tell what color those are. Is that red and blue or red and white?" And I'm like, "What are you, an idiot? Red. This is clearly red and white." And then in the right lighting, I was like, "Oh man, these are blue, huh?"
Interesting. Well, all right. You want to get into Moneyball? Let's get it.
He can't throw. But what can he do?
He gets on base.
We are card counters at the blackjack table.
You're not buying into this Bill James bullshit, are you?
I'm heading in. Text me the play-by-play.
Wait, what?
I don't watch the games.
We were swapped there, Noah. All right. As I alluded to, a little Arizona State action. We have not had a Moneyball segment in 3 weeks now. So I felt like we would just kind of reset and focus more on where we stand right at this moment. Landon Hairston, your leader in the clubhouse in individual weighted runs created plus at 230. That's 130% better than your average college hitter. And he has a 451 average, 532 on base percentage, 1,008 slugging. That gives his OPS 1539. 19 home runs. Landon Hairston, congratulations. You are the de facto hitter for the last 3 weeks because we haven't had anybody else in that spot. And then Dax Whitney, if you think back, we've had Grant Govell on there. We've had Chris Lavonis, Jake Marciano. All these guys, their Sierras have slowly trickled down the board. But the one constant, still the only one that is under 1 is Dax Whitney, 0.68 Sierra, 267 FIP, 5-0 as a starter, 133 ERA. For you non-nerds, 88 strikeouts, leads the country. Dax Whitney, in large part why this Oregon State pitching staff is so good, currently ranked number 1 in the country in expected Sierra plus. And then Mississippi State, I kind of teased it earlier. They are the overall best team in the country right now, doing it both hitting and pitching. And yeah, let me just get through with this.
They just got swept by Georgia, Grissy.
They did just get swept by Georgia. So the old adage of pitching wins series may not be true. Auburn, best pitching staff in the country outside of Oregon State, but I didn't want to be too redundant there. And then the lineup of the week, shocker, it's still Georgia Tech. Mashing the ball, 130 in weighted runs created plus, good for number 1 in the country. In the comments section, yeah. Team of the week got swept. Nothing gets past you, Andrew. But you know what you can't lie about? The stats. They're still the number 1 team in the country in pitching and hitting combined.
Okay.
So
I have seen
more of an anomaly.
A lot of people have been saying that just because you get swept by Georgia doesn't mean you're that bad. That just means that Georgia is that good. So I would ask you, Grissy, where are they in the numbers? Where is Georgia?
Definitely an argument made for lineup of the week. They sit as the number 2 team in the country. 131 weighted runs created plus for Georgia Tech, 128 for Georgia. Next closest to them, the Mercer Bears at 123. Shout out Ben Upton there.
Yeah, we don't push that Mercer propaganda here.
You've got Texas A&M, Pitt, Texas Tech, Kansas State, Mississippi State, Miami to kind of round that out.
Texas Tech and K-State both playing a little bit of bad baseball lately, dare I say. Grissy shows the importance of also pitching on the side. Is there obviously Mississippi State is your perfect team, even though they just got swept. Who are some of the other teams, if you're able to give us this data, that maybe not is Mississippi State, but is kind of like when you think of Ken Pom with college basketball, where the winners are always top 20 in each. Who are some of those where they're maybe top 10, top 15 in both categories?
So that is the margin, the insider's expected margin that I'm creating, which is the net. Right now, like I said, Mississippi State's at number 1. Shockingly, number 2 is Florida. And Florida is like the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team. You don't.
This is an SEC stat. I get it.
Nope, it's not. It is just weighted by strength of schedule, and as you know, it's very difficult playing in the SEC. So the top 4 teams are SEC, and then it goes to UCLA at 5, Georgia Tech, Florida State at 6, 7, and then Auburn, Wake Forest, and Miami to round out the top 10.
I knew that 6-7 was on the way out, but that might have just been its funeral right there.
I hope it was, honestly. I hope it was.
Well, Chris, I don't know how much you're able to project these kind of things because, as we just saw with Georgia sweeping Mississippi State, anything can happen. That's why they play the games. I think I said last week that I didn't have something on my bingo card, but baseball is not played on a bingo card. Is there anything that, if you can look into your Moneyball crystal ball, anything that might give you an inkling as to who we might expect to see a week from now on your graphic? I know that's a crazy question.
That is a crazy question. I don't know. You're wanting me to project future success based on stats that are season long.
I would ask you, this isn't the greatest indicator of future behavior, past behavior?
Yes, that's why I love the stats. I think North Carolina is going to look very good come next week after their series with Clemson. I'm not sold on this Clemson team. I think North Carolina is in a prime position to really lock down that number 2 in the ACC spot. Maybe one of the best teams in the country. TBD. I still need to see their pitching staff do it. And then what are we getting out of this Virginia Notre Dame matchup? I think this is going to be very good. Jack Radell probable for game 1. And then are we going to see the Kyle Johnson, Zatkowski pitch 1-2 innings for Johnson, and then Zatkowski comes in, kind of ham and egging the Tennessee Volunteers back when they made their run. We'll see. UCLA gets to travel to Piscataway and take on Rutgers. That should be nothing. I think you posted potentially their future schedule. They're on a 22, 23 game win streak now after the midweek win. So how many more do they win in a row before they lose? We've seen USC now go down after being the last of the undefeateds. Them in Texas, both their stats are kind of coming down to earth as well. So we'll see if UCLA can continue that hot start.
I think that Minnesota takes one from them this weekend, Grissy. I like the Golden Gophers, or maybe it's next weekend. I think it's next weekend. If they don't lose before then, I do like the Golden Gophers to take a game from them because I think they're underperforming right now. That's a good Minnesota team that's building in the right direction. Maybe not this year, but maybe a year or two down the road. That's a strong NCAA tournament contending team. Ty McDevitt building it the right way. Feels like that they're a prime candidate to take one from UCLA if they're still on the win streak after Piscataway, and then I forget who they have in a midweek next week. Maybe UCSB.
Also, Kansas Jayhawks UCF. That's going to be another one that gives us a lot of good information. The projections right now have this dead even 6-6.
That's intriguing. I will be in attendance for at least one of those KU UCF games, getting a large spoonful of the Kansas Jayhawk medicine, and then I will take some time off after this UCF series. I'll get into my travel plans just a little bit, Grissy, but I don't want to kick you off. I think that you being here is enjoyable. So unless you have any more words on Moneyball, take it off the screen, and otherwise let's just start BSing and see where we end up. I wanted to talk about green grapes in a moment, if you're available for such discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. If you've seen me the last few minutes eating, it's been green grapes. Now, you'll notice that these are not regular sized green grapes. I'm going to try and get them. These are large grapes here, folks. Now, I would say, and Grissy, you can chime in with a number here, 65-70% of the reason that CBC Radio exists is because of green grapes. Is that a fair number, Chris?
Possibly, yeah. We've had a lot of long talks while you were getting green grapes. I actually, you spoke about them so much that I had to get a bag of green grapes. I've got a Zen in, so I'm not going to eat them on air like you, but this is not a normal grape. Like, what in the nuclear?
That is large.
That is not normal.
That is nice. That's a good pull on you. Good on you to have green grapes on hand.
Yeah, product of chili.
Okay. They're an unbelievable wintertime fruit, and here we are in the spring. They're only going to get better. I get my green grapes at Sam's Club. So my challenge to anybody listening, go to Sam's, your local Sam's Club, if you're a card-carrying member. If you're not, you've made a huge mistake already. That can't be fixed. But if you're a card-carrying Sam's Club member, go to your local Sam's Club, go all the way to the produce section, go in that little cooler area with the fruits and whatever else they have in there. Frankly, I don't care. They got like lettuce and other crap too. But go right to the green grapes. Don't get the cotton candy grapes. This is so on brand. I reckon the cotton candy grapes are bad. I hate cotton candy grapes. I don't want my grapes to taste like candy because I'm not 6 years old. I'm a little bit more mature than that. But
Let me ask you, what makes it taste like cotton candy? What kind of pesticides did they spray on it and they determined, wow, this tastes like cotton candy?
That is so terrible. I agree. It's embarrassing for the grape game. Nothing worse than I walk into Sam's, like I'm going to continue on saying, and you get to that frozen or cooler area and you see the green grapes and you say, oh, man, these are just cotton candy. Luckily, I've never been to Sam's and they not have the good green grapes, which is, I believe, Red Dragon is the name. It's something dragon. And it immediately stands out. There's this very cool dragon on it. And they have two different variants of the green grapes. They've got the regular ones that don't say anything else. And then they also have autumn crisp ones. Now, depending on which grape you like, do you like a sweeter grape or do you like that sour quench? I personally like the sour a little bit better. However, these are the autumn crisp grapes, and I'm munching them just fine. These remind me a little bit more of a green apple, where you still get some of that sour, but it's also just a little bit more, I don't know, more subtle. Whereas the Red Dragon that does not say autumn crisp, those eggs, or not eggs, Jesus, Jake, I'm reading your stupid comments. The grapes will make you go, ugh, a little bit, and that's what I like. Chris, what's the read on the grape that you just put in your mouth?
Kind of bland, not really sweet or tart.
It's because you didn't buy a Sam's Club grape.
Probably not.
I know you didn't. You bought it in some weird bag. The Sam's Club grapes in 3 pounds like this. And
Miami wins 61% of the time in a 3-game series. 42%, Miami wins 2-1. 19%, Miami sweeps, to answer your question.
And I'll address this one as well. Favorite type of apple is Honey Crisp. Not even a discussion. Granny Smith is somewhere with good odds as well, but Honey Crisp was my favorite apple. Grizz, do you have a favorite apple?
Just a green apple.
So, yeah, that'd be Granny Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Grizz, I had in my tweet that I had posted things I wanted to discuss would be the travel plans that I have for the rest of the season. We do it all year long. Grizz, I don't know how often you get into this. I'm going to go into one of my tangents, which is just a tangent about a tangent, where I'll make a loose schedule of games I kind of want to attend, series that are big, that are also reasonable. Of course, I'd love to see Hawaii play UCSB, but I live in Omaha, so I won't be seeing either of those teams.
They make airplanes for that.
They do make airplanes, but when I could instead go to Kansas, Kansas State, Nebraska, Creighton, Omaha, those are inherently a little bit easier for me to attend. So I'll lay out a loose schedule of Big 12 games. Maybe I'll go see Arkansas. Maybe I'll make it to Missouri. Things that are mostly regional. Maybe I'll plan a big trip. I went out to TCU at UCLA. That, of course, required a little bit of a plane ride, but I stay mostly local to me. But I laid it out the rest of the year. I'm not going to read through everywhere that I'm going. But like I was going to say, the tangent, sometimes I'll look and say, what if I drove to Cincinnati? And then I'll say, okay, but then it would take like 10 and a half hours of driving to get there. I'd probably want to break that trip up. So then I would go to maybe Iowa hosting whoever on that Friday. And then I'd make it out to Cincinnati on Saturday. And then I'd have to make my way back. And maybe I could stop at SIEU. And that game's at 11. But then Missouri plays at 4 o'clock. So maybe if I drive really fast, I can make it to Missouri. And then I can come home after that. And I'll just go on these crazy ideas that I'm going to do this insane road trip all in 3 days. And, of course, that never actually ends up happening. I think Micah actually doesn't stop himself and is like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to do a little bit of that next week with TCU at Baylor. Now, if you know where Baylor is, that's south of Dallas. So this is going to be about a 10-and-a-half-hour drive in itself. I will be driving down there. My hang-up, though, is, do I stop in Fayetteville on my way down, Grissom? Because I'm a Big 12 guy. I would like to see Baylor play twice because I've never been to Baylor before. I like the team. I like what Mitch Thompson's doing. I want to spend as much time there as possible, but do I want to drive 10.5 hours without stopping? I'll, of course, stop for gas, poop, eat, things of that nature. But do I want to instead drive 6 hours to Fayetteville, drive a little bit at night, stop somewhere, drive a few more hours to Waco, watch a game, make my way to Oklahoma City, be there for Sunday, and be home at a reasonable time on Sunday. That's what I have to weigh. Either way, I will see Kansas play at Oklahoma State on my way up. Get Brahms. You know that's a lock. I will get Brahms no matter what. That's kind of the whole point of this trip, isn't it? To get Brahms. And then I'm just going to keep driving past Brahms. Yeah, I accidentally clicked on a comment from Jake. That's on me. But either way, Gris, wanted your initial thoughts on driving the 10.5 hours south. I know you're an Arkansas guy, but I'm really stuck mentally. Do I want to – I want Baylor to be treated the way that I want to treat them, but do I really have the sanity to drive 10.5 hours and then go to a baseball game right after? Or would I rather drive the 6 hours to Fayetteville and then consequently the 4-ish hours to Waco?
I think you would benefit your own enjoyment if you went to Arkansas and then Waco. Definitely. But bigger question is, do you plot out your map based on how many times you could stop at Brahms?
That is an excellent idea. And
it's almost like you're planning on your next drive to the next Brahms with a little baseball in between.
It would be it's not lost on me that there is a Brahms in Fayetteville. In fact, there's two of them. Not lost on me at all. Of course, they also have this delicacy known as pulled pork fries. And I'll even sweeten the pot for you, Grissy. I know you generally know the Arkansas schedule, but maybe you haven't pieced together. They're hosting Georgia as well. So it's not like I'm going to go watch Arkansas play, Central Arkansas. No disrespect to the Bears. This is going to be a high-stakes series for both teams for different reasons, but should be a good crowd. What's that sauce that Brahms puts on the burgers? Jake McKeever says that'd be Brahms sauce. Glad I could clear that up. But
which staying on brand for the SEC, where I can't figure it out week in and week out of who's actually good. That will probably be a series that Arkansas sweeps Georgia, and then we'll all just be left scratching our heads, wondering what is going on. For me, my travel schedule this weekend is really easy. I'm going to go 2 hours up the road to Jonesboro and catch Arkansas State, who is hosting Coastal Carolina.
Well played by you, Grissy, from one Conway to another.
Yeah.
Not to dox you, but this is, of course, 2 weeks away, so I've got a lot of time to think about it. A lot of oceans of time to think about my cross-country trip to Baylor. But this weekend I will definitely be at UCF, Kansas, at least once, maybe twice. Might catch Oral Roberts, Omaha, might double dip with Kansas, might go to K-State, Oklahoma State. But that's a lot easier for me to sort out than Fayetteville / Waco / Stillwater / the ratio of each. Plus, who knows what weather might do. College baseball and weather, not exactly good friends. This weekend's going to be a minefield in the Midwest. I don't know what next week's weather looks like. I'll probably get tornadoed out or something. But again, golden hour is approaching, Grissy, and I hope we get it soon.
Still trying to get media credentials for Arkansas State. Who would have thought it would be more difficult than Arkansas?
Well, I'm certain that they will come through. They're probably tuned into CBC Radio in the clubhouse right now.
Probably listening to Green Grapes, judging my approval based on that.
Yeah, so you're probably going to be rejected. But after that, just at a glance, I'll see K-State, I'll see Kansas, I'll see Arizona, TCU, Oklahoma State, Creighton, West Virginia, Cincinnati, and then the Big Ten tournament. There's going to be a lot of stops in between there that I didn't just mention, but if I don't see Arkansas this weekend, I'm worried I won't see them. And seeing Arkansas has been one of my annual traditions at this point because I do love Baum Walker. I refuse to acknowledge Judy Noble is better because I simply cannot make it there easily. So for all I care to know, Fayetteville does host the best ballpark in college baseball at Baum Walker. And again, the pulled pork fries make the trip worth it. That sounds obnoxious, but it really is true. It'd be nice to get there in the first inning, have some pulled pork fries, get some again in like the 8th, and then have maybe diarrhea all the way to Waco. But maybe I just drive straight to Waco and enjoy a Friday night in the Big 12. I don't know. I'm lost.
It sounds like you're found. I think you have quite the plan there, Noah.
I'll continue to talk to my family and God and my agent about it. But Chris, we're in minute 40 now. We haven't done a ton of rambling. Anything you want to ramble about? I know that this is very off the cuff all of a sudden.
Yeah, let's talk about the glaring issue that LSU has. They lose last night to Bethune-Cookman. If you look back at the chart, I'll pull it up again, but LSU isn't that far off. I think they're in the contender lane here, but what's wrong with them? They're terrible. Can't figure it out. But it goes back to the question of in the SEC, who is good? Who is actually good? South Carolina just lost to College of Charleston, but they take a game from Texas.
I'll say this, Chrissy, and I don't have a perfect understanding of LSU. But from what I've seen of the Tigers, and again, I'm a Big 12 guy at heart. I don't sit and watch LSU inning by inning. Zach York is an issue in Baton Rouge. And you hate to say that about a player, but it is the NIL era. He was a big-time transfer. He's not living up to expectations. And I see what the fans say about how the team plays when he's in versus when he's out. I don't know the full story. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe Andrew can chime in, but that's a factor for me. And I don't know. I don't want to speculate what the deal with what that is, but that's my perspective.
Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi State. Missouri. Alabama and Arkansas will be a good series this weekend. Little unbreaking news. Gabe Gackle is going to come out of the bullpen. We just saw him pitch last night, and it's Little Rock out of the bullpen in a midweek. Not typical for your Friday night starter. Therefore, I can pretty much guarantee he will not be towing the rubber in game one against Bama.
Well, I'll say this, Chris.
Be Hunter Dietz.
Kansas is Friday starter the last 2 weeks. Bodie Ray. He came out of the bullpen last night against Nebraska, got the 3-inning save, and I've been told that he will be available to start this weekend. So Kansas, Arkansas might have more in common than just the 6 letters in their name.
There you go. Can always count on you for a random fact.
That wasn't so random. That was more so an allegory, but glad we were able to link up on that. To address Andrew, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi State, Missouri, Jekyll, Hyde. I don't think Georgia's Jekyll and Hyde, unless he's listing like 2 teams, but I don't think Alabama's Jekyll and Hyde. I don't think Mississippi State's Jekyll and Hyde. Missouri is a rebuilding program. They're allowed to do whatever they want. I will say that Florida is Jekyll and Hyde, and there's got to be a Vanderbilt a little bit.
Vanderbilt's all offense, no pitching staff.
But they've won some games. They beat A&M on Friday. They won a series against Tennessee. Maybe they swept Tennessee. I'm out of touch with the SEC.
You really are.
And that's fine with me.
Yes, they did sweep Tennessee. Tennessee, not that great, though.
Okay, Andrew has developed.
Jekyll and Hyde right now. Okay.
All right, Florida agreed. Arkansas, I don't know. I think they're just – I think
they're mediocre.
Vanderbilt, sure thing. LSU, Kentucky, yeah.
I don't think LSU is Jekyll and Hyde at all. I think they've shown you exactly who they are week in and week out. They're just not a very good team.
Can we add Ole Miss to the Jekyll and Hyde watch list potentially? They and Kentucky feel like the same team to me.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the raw numbers of everybody, the one that does not make sense is Florida. I mean, they are right there tied with Texas and Mississippi State in the SEC as far as doing it on both ends of the ball. And then what do you get? You expect them to sweep last weekend. Didn't happen. Then they go out and they sweep Arkansas. What are they? They beat up on Florida State. beat up on Miami. Maybe Florida's the best team in the ACC. Who knows? Problem is they play in the SEC.
It's so typical of the SEC to bring in these hypotheticals. We knew it was coming. The SEC fans love the hypotheticals. Canes Cats Heat is going to back me up on that. I can feel it. Another hypothetical win for the SEC. Thank you, Chris. That was incredible how you just casually brought that up.
Yeah, it's I tweeted it out though. Bowl games don't matter in the SEC, and apparently neither do midweeks. But
Florida taught us that a few years ago.
In conference play or non-conference opponents in your own state, maybe those matter. I don't know. It's hard to keep up with. I think midweeks do matter.
Every midweek matters to somebody. That's right, Chris. Every midweek matters to somebody.
It should matter to everybody. It's if they lose. That's when it doesn't matter. You try to change the narrative of
what are the
okay, we lost to whatever.
What are the rules? What are the scheduling rules, Chris? Do you know what they are? Is there a minimum number of games that you're like? Is there? Feels like every team plays a slightly different number of games. You can cancel them whenever you want. It seems like. I wonder what the fewest number of midweeks you could schedule is.
I would probably look at Arkansas' schedule, and that would be your answer. So I feel like Dave intentionally stopped scheduling midweeks down the line. So some teams will play 12, or I just read that. We play 12. Some will play 2 a week for the first half of the season. And then they'll drop to 1. I think Arkansas plays 2 a week, maybe once or twice. And then it's 1. But typically all of them play between 54 and 58 games.
I know Creighton played 2 the week I saw them, and that was their first time doing it that year. And even Mark Kingston after was saying, yeah, we didn't really do this too much at South Carolina. Interesting. Because Andrew's saying the minimum is 40 games. So what is that? That's 10 midweeks is the minimum you would have to go out and play. Or maybe not even that. You just schedule a bunch of 4-game series instead.
Yeah.
I know that there have been a few 4-gamers across the country this year in the non-conference play, that is. I wonder what you could really do. If you wanted to play no midweeks, I wonder how close you could get. I bet you'd have to play at least 5.
Probably.
Okay, well, an engaging conversation, Chris. 6 games a week. Yeah,
I was reading the comments section popping off, but it's more of just Canes Cats Heat and Andrew talking.
And then occasionally you get some pretentious comment from Jake McKeever, as expected.
I think Jake is logged off.
Thank God. Chris, this is the sweet spot. We're at about minute 50. This feels like a good place to call it. A big week ahead. I don't know if you heard earlier. I was predicting potentially a golden hour in college baseball this weekend. You only get one a year, where you turn on the TV, Tennessee's playing, and the sun is looking just right. Everything's perfect, picture perfect everywhere across the country, not just one spot. Do you predict that to be this weekend, or do you think we'll still be waiting for it next weekend? I'm worried with the weather in the Midwest. I'll say that.
I think in the SEC you'll get that. It's supposed to be nice weather all weekend, except maybe Sunday. It's always a home run. Shop Woodhouse. Your Ford advertisement back there. You should tell them, clip this, and you should see if you can get some advertising dollars out of that, because it's just perfectly
Where
placed.
are you reading that? Oh, I see. Huh. That's behind the timer for me, so I couldn't read that on my own screen.
There you go.
I don't know if you can tell by the top of it, but that is my camera is over here. That is the let me try and that is the Tennessee Omaha World Herald from after they won it. Over here I have this is very hard. My camera's not exactly normal.
Oh, you have a very hard time holding it still.
Well, yeah, it's like a tripod situation.
Box on the camera over here.
There's the Oregon State one. I don't know what else I've got up here. There's a banner, or whatever you call it. It's a building wall. I've got stuff to add to it. I'm sure one time we could go through it or something, Grissy. But yeah, I've got a whole bunch of stuff in my right over here too. Maybe next week we'll do a tour of the office. It's kind of just I set a bunch of stuff down one day and it hasn't moved. My desk still has stuff from it from like late nights doing the Diamond Report. Like I have this random cereal box, very stale cereal in here. Yeah, this is a total disaster in here. There's juice. It's juice, Diamond Report juice right here. I think I might die if I drink that.
Does it have methamphetamines in it?
It might. It might.
We didn't really talk about the home field advantage.
You're right. We didn't.
Presented by Home Field.
Presented by Home Field.
Quick read by that. Before we get back to the action, we've got to tell you about the best gear in college sports. The place to go is Home Field Apparel. Check out the Diamond Classics collection. High-quality throwback jerseys for your favorite team. From the Arkansas Razorbacks to the Vanderbilt Commodores, Home Field has you covered. Home Field's the only apparel partner of College Baseball Central. Gear up for game day by visiting homefieldapparel.com. Okay, so the question was posed to you, which college sport provides the best home field advantage? Because as our friend Doug has written multiple times about Dudy Noble Field in Mississippi State and the crowds, we've heard about them at Arkansas, Tennessee sells out, I feel like, every weekend. Alex Box always packed. Did something happen with the home field advantage this past weekend for Mississippi State? Because the Georgia Bulldogs came into town and evaporated the 18,000 plus crowd or whatever that was at Dudy Noble Field this past weekend.
It's fickle in my eyes. And when you ask me to compare the sports, I think it's extremely fickle in each. A lot of it is how good is the team. And in this case, Mississippi State, very good team. This is the best they've had since they won it all in 2021. So they have every reason to be as loud as they possibly can. But Georgia's a really, really good team. And credit to them for, I think it says a lot when you can go in and take game one and then take a lead in game two. And you're thinking, wow, we're in control here. And then by the time you go into a game three, it's such a very weird dynamic when, as a home fan, you've already lost the series. So even though it's important to not get swept, in your brain, you're like, we've already lost. I'm not saying Mississippi State fans felt this, but you can feel that sometimes when it's what's the point? They still show up in droves, of course, for Mississippi State baseball, but there's that factor and it's real. I think when you talk about the greatest home field advantage in college sports, football doesn't necessarily come to mind as much as it maybe did 10 years ago. I don't know why that is. You think of NCAA football video games and crowd pulse, and usually the place with the strongest crowds are also the best home field advantage. It's not just the best teams, but a home crowd can absolutely roll you to a win in any sport. That's why it's a home field advantage. But I think basketball, for me, makes a strong impact in that argument as well at the top. I think it's getting worse because for whatever reason, college students don't attend games like they once did. Fans don't attend games like they once did for specifically basketball on a random Wednesday conference game. It's not what it once was. But I think Grissy, you and I and three others from CBC could dress up in basketball jerseys and be the home team at Allen Fieldhouse. And I think that we could be willed to victory against any team in the country. I think that's how strong that particular home court advantage is. I would say similar things for Duke. And after that, it's a drop-off in basketball for me. Whereas in baseball, I would say that Mississippi State has some of that, but Georgia just took that wind out of their sails. Arkansas is one that I think of in the postseason, minus NC State in 2021, where if you tell me that Arkansas is a top 8 seed, not to jinx them, it doesn't look like I'm going to do it this year. It feels like when Arkansas is a top 8 seed, Arkansas fans can start looking at hotels in Omaha. And that's the way it should be in sports, and good for them. So it's a very up and down conversation, but on a postseason picture, I think that the home field advantage in baseball is as strong, if not stronger, than the other sports. I think when you think about postseason in college sports, it's usually a neutral site, but in baseball and now the opening round of the college football playoff, it's on campus. And I think that a 1 seed is way more likely to win their regional than a home team in a college football playoff game is likely to win their game. I'm sure that there's a pretty good winning percentage there, but I'm sure that also has a lot to do with higher seed versus higher seed. I would even say that in a super regional setting where it is still a top 16 seed versus top 16 seed in many cases, I would still pick the top 8 team to win because they're at home. If it was flipped, I'd pick the other team. So as far as home field advantages go, I would more blindly follow the home team in baseball than in the other sports. But it still exists on certain levels at the top in basketball and football. But I think on an average field-to-field basis, a regional at Clemson scares me more than a basketball game at Clemson, certainly. And that's got to mean something.
We've seen, like you said, it's diminished, I feel like, the home field advantage. I think back of Miami, Texas A&M in the college football playoff down in College Station, and it was, absolutely all Miami in that game. Defensive battle, from what I can recall, really took the 20,000 people that were in attendance there out of the for A&M. We saw Arkansas get swept by Florida. Now Mississippi State swept by Georgia. I don't know if there's much of a home field advantage across either football or baseball right now. I do agree basketball, that adds an extra oomph behind the performance of the team, but I don't know if there is one for baseball.
It's an interesting discussion. Before we continue it, I want to address Dr. Octagon here. I did just Google the Texas Tech mascot. I, of course, could have pictured in my head, but I wanted the exact picture. I don't know if I could physically do that. I will still accept all the money in your wallet. Frankly, this isn't very good right here. Like, this is trashy. I need to trim it. But I don't take much care of this particular section. So this is about the best I got, and it's also the worst I've got. So unfortunately, I don't think I can willingly claim the money, but I will accept it either way. But you'll just have to pretend that this is Texas Tech mascot worthy. But thank you for tuning in, Dr. Octagon. Appreciate your commentary as always. Totally normal Twitter name as well.
Doc Ock, man. You got to watch it. Great game tonight. Oregon Ducks and Portland Pilots. Keep an eye on the Pilots. Oregon Ducks kind of on upset alert for me. Other than that, I got nothing else. Michigan State's kind of taking it to Notre Dame right now. More midweek madness. There's some series beginning tomorrow, most notably Florida State, Georgia Tech. Does anybody, even the great pitching staff of Florida State, slow down this Georgia Tech offense?
I don't see it happening. FSU without Miles Bailey, it feels like they're due for that to actually catch up with them. That doesn't impact pitching, obviously, but give me the Jackets, and that's of course not even the biggest series starting tomorrow. Houston BYU is
You were going to go there.
massive in the middle of the Big 12. BYU playing pretty good baseball lately. Houston, you thought they were dead, and then they go out and take care of Texas Tech. Cougars versus Cougars. They spell it differently. Fun fact, Chris, that's COOGS versus COUGS. A little bit of a rivalry there. Must-see TV.
It's not correct.
Okay. Well, Chris, you did join the program, so it'd be nice if you could play along.
Oklahoma, Vandy to go back to the SEC.
Who cares?
Vanderbilt. Yeah, who cares? It's very uninterested in that series. But I'm also uninterested in a series between a 15-16 Cougars team and a 16-15 Cougars team. And
That's
you
right.
can decide who's who.
I got the Cougars.
Yeah, I think the Cougars are going to win it.
You're off base there.
Well, anything else before we let the people go after holding them hostage while we eat green grapes for an hour? Mine are
Grissom, yeah, I'm out. I filled my cup, 32-ounce cup, all gone. A little bit of water left over. Gris, I'm good to call it. We will see you guys again next week for CBC Radio. God only knows how long Gris is going to stick around them. To address Dr. Oggiano real quick, they figured it out. They're playing good baseball. They won 7 in a row. Pitching staff figured out. Who are they going to start on Friday? I don't know. Bodie Ray's a reliever, I think. But we'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, CBC Radio, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. Gris, click the button.